Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimour, Shamil. Pakistan is facing many challenges, and there are many challenges for the new government. Prime Minister Imran Khan yesterday made a speech, and in the speech he talked about different challenges. He started with the debt, the loans that Pakistan has been getting from IMF, from the World Bank. But he soon changed the topic and he came towards the real issue that he wanted to talk about, and that was the water crisis. Prime Minister Imran Khan yesterday emphasized on building more dams, and primarily the Zaigham Bhasha Dam and the Mohammed Dam. This is also an initiative taken by the Supreme Court of Pakistan and by the Chief Justice of Pakistan. Prime Minister Imran Khan talked about collaborating with the Chief Justice, and he said that this is the most important thing that Pakistan has to focus on at the moment, because according to the Prime Minister and according to the reports by the World Bank and IMF, Pakistan can run dry near 2025. We're going to see what Prime Minister said yesterday, and we're going to continue our discussion with our special guests in the studios today. We'll see what Prime Minister said.
सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम मेरी नज़र में वो है पानी का मसला। पानी का मसला ऐसे है कि मैं आपके सामने फिगर स्टैटिस्टिक्स रखता हूँ। जब पाकिस्तान आज़ाद हुआ तो हर पाकिस्तानी के हिस्से में जो पानी आता था वो था 5,600 क्यूबिक मीटर। आज सिर्फ 1,000 क्यूबिक मीटर पानी रह गया हर पाकिस्तानी के हिस्से में। जो पाकिस्तान में पानी की स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी है वो है सिर्फ 30 दिन की। इसका मतलब कि हमें डैम बनाना हमारे मुल्क के लिए नागुज़ीर है। अब हम अगर हमने अब ना डैम बनाने शुरू किए, आगे आने वाले दिनों में हमारे आने वाली नस्लों के लिए हम एक ऐसा मसले मसाइल का पहाड़ छोड़ के जा रहे हैं जिसको अभी मैं बात नहीं करना चाहता। मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि अगर हमने डैम ना बनाए, एक्सपर्ट्स ये कहते हैं कि 7 सालों में यानी 2025 में पाकिस्तान में खुश्कसाली शुरू हो जाएगी।
Right. So Prime Minister talked about the need to have more dams, and certainly the water crisis, water shortage is a big issue for Pakistan. Building dams is indispensable. This is what Prime Minister Imran Khan was saying yesterday. We're going to have a discussion on this point, on the issues of water crisis, how to go about it, what are the options for Pakistan. We have two brilliant experts with us today to talk about the water issue. Our first guest is Dr. Zaigham Habib. She's an expert on water crisis. Welcome to the show, Dr. Zaigham.
Thank you.
Our second guest is Mr. Slaman zaidi. He's a climate expert and also an expert on Pakistan-India relations and the issues that are there, the outstanding issues of water crisis between Pakistan and India. Welcome to the show, Mr. Slaman. Dr. Zaigham, talking about what Prime Minister emphasized on yesterday, building more dams and the figures that he was quoting. What is your take on the importance of building more dams and having dams like the Zaigham Bhasha and the Mohammed Dam?
I think this is one thing on which I totally agree with the Prime Minister and the present government. I think previous governments also tried with the dams. We need reservoirs there are many reasons. I will explain a bit later on. We are a water scarce country basically, and we have, I think one thing which is not mentioned mostly, that about 70% Pakistan's water is transboundary water. So only less than 30% is generated inside Pakistan. So we have only one basin. So we have very high dependency on the Indus basin. Also we get water in our rivers only 30%, during 3 months, 3 to 4. So 8 to 9 months we don't get water in our system. We have to store what we get during 3 months, including the monsoon rains. So we need dams for I think very 3 sectors, 3 purposes which are very clear. One is the hydel power generation. You know, in our clean energy, our renewable energy mix has gone very low, because once hydel power was 70% of total power, and now it's less than 30%. Some months it's only 10%, which is not affordable, because the price is 10 times more the other powers. This is the first reason. The second reason is the type of irrigation system we have and our rural economy. 60% of the people still depend on that, and we don't have alternate for them.
Right.
So we can't go from crops to industry tomorrow. That's not possible. The third is also very important, which is not mentioned, the urban water problem, which is becoming big and big. Karachi is going for salinization. I think what we need is storage, so that we can provide water to the cities also. We have not allocated water to cities.
You rightly pointed out some very important points, and you talked about the irrigation. Let's say, according to IMF, a bulk of farmland is irrigated through the canal system, but canal water is underpriced, and we are not putting enough taxes on the agriculture. Because of that, perhaps there is wastage of water as well. Do you see it that way?
I think the taxes and wastage of water are two different things, in my opinion.
Right.
Water is underpriced, also for the urban users. How much we pay? 600 rupees in after 2 months. So this is
nothing.
very hugely underpriced. In the agriculture sector, tax is big problem, and that is because of landlord lobby in Pakistan. I think last 40, 50 years we are talking about that, and this is hugely subsidized sector for the big landlord, not for the small farmer. He is living at the livelihood level. If you go and make an income tax statement for them, I don't think they have anything to pay. So it's I think pricing is very big issue.
Right. So, Mansab, all these things are interconnected, and we'll talk about each thing in a while. But before that, going about building dams is most important at the moment. How to go about work on the Amar Bhasha Dam and Mohammed Dam? Supreme Court has started a fund. Prime Minister would be working on it. This collaboration, and how do you think the government would go about this?
Well, I think it's very welcome that the government is going in with a gusto on making these dams. The first feasibilities actually came out 30 years ago, 25 years ago. That's when since then the cost has also been going up and up and up of the budgeting. The feasibility upon feasibility has come out of the Amar Bhasha, Munda Dam, so many other sites that have been, and Mohammed Dam also. Thankfully, there is support on the ground. The communities that had to be displaced are themselves willingly giving up the land. We've heard good news because those communities see a stake in their livelihood, well-being from the dam coming about. Having said that, I think there is a very stark realization that these dams are coming, a quarter century too late. This crisis would not have been in the making. The crisis that we are talking about, we're putting a date on it, 2025, 2030, even sooner. The crisis has actually arrived in some parts of Pakistan, and our vulnerable population segments are already taking a hit. Right. But these dams will also not come about immediately. They will take the next 10 years of being constructed at a huge cost. Finally, a government is putting them together, and I think that is very welcome. The sort of the public or the popular opinion that they have managed to mobilize is also welcome. Coming from another institution like the Chief Justice of Pakistan saying, "I've created a dam," whether or not that money actually sort of helps in a big way is a question that economists are looking at, and there's people saying that this money will at most be a fraction, 5%, 7% of the total that we do need. But I think there's other things that the government must do. Dams are just one part, just absolutely one segment of what Pakistan needs. I think an integrated, holistic, much larger focus on what water needs to be done, and I'm happy to talk about that as Professor Zaigham Habib talked about the sectors, agriculture included, water pricing. I'm happy to talk about those in some detail.
Right. We'll continue our discussion on the water crisis and what Prime Minister Imran Khan talked about, the dams, building dams. Chief Justice of Pakistan and Prime Minister of Pakistan would collaborate on dams, and Pakistan will be building dams to get rid of the acute crisis that we might be facing in the next couple of years. We'll take a break and we'll continue our discussion.
Pakistan is going to be one of those countries which is going to suffer the most because of climate change, because of global warming and water shortage. absolute water scarcity I'm talking about. So try to make sure that you use the available water wisely, whether you're shaving, you're taking a shower, you're using it for cleaning your cars or watering your plants for that matter. Just make sure this is something very precious, very, very important, and we are at a verge where either we can make it or break it. So start from today.
Welcome back. We are discussing the water crisis and Prime Minister's speech that he made yesterday, and he talked about building more dams. Pakistan might be facing acute water shortage in the next couple of years. What is the solution? How to go about building dams and also saving on the water resources? Dr. Zaigham talking about building dams and getting rid of this crisis that we might be facing soon in near future. What is to be done then? Do you think in this much money, what Slaman was talking about, that we can ask people to work for this fund and give more money for this, but still we might be needing some other resources to build more dams, and this might also take next perhaps 10 years, as Slaman was saying. Do you agree with that?
I don't think it will take 10 years. I think we need it, and it will be built before then. Yeah, before that. The money Chief Justice is collecting and the Prime Minister Fund, this is a bit symbolic in my opinion, is putting in a way to priority to this thing. That's one thing. Secondly, the WAPDA chairman said yesterday that WAPDA needs 500 Arab to start it, 500 billion. So we have 2 up till now. So I think there will be maybe more money. So maybe around 100 we can start, because there are different phases of the dam building. WAPDA has put it in 2 phases. The first one will take 4 to 5 years. So I think they can start in a year. And the importance, few years back, the ISA, Indus River System Authority, including their member from Sindh and all 4 provinces, they said that Pakistan stop all other development, and I think they were mentioning this orange tree and this type of thing, and focus only on the dams. Because let me explain the water scarcity we are facing. Actually, there are different types of water shortages Pakistan is facing, and we are confused on number 5, number 6, but we are among the more water short, highest water stress country in the world. Our storage capacity is of only 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks is maximum, mostly 3 weeks. India is 100 days,
right.
And
other
it has
countries, US is
800
perhaps
days.
900 days, right?
Yeah, so much more than Pakistan. So this means we are not water safe. We are vulnerable. If there is a water shortage, like it was this year, in the beginning of summer, if the rains are delayed and the glacier melt is delayed, so we are out of water.
And in many areas, the monsoon has shrunk from 4 months to 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's also an
that
issue.
that is also a problem. Second water shortage is the urban water shortage, because the water is not allocated. Groundwater we are using, which is declining. Even Lahore is facing that. Groundwater aquifer is going down, and its quality is also declining. And another shortage is, okay, one thing, we are grossly water short. Even after building 10 dams, we will be water short. That is the total renewable water resource of Pakistan, which is normally mentioned. It's not related to dam. It's 1000 cubic meter per person is the total available water. Our canal supply is only 500. Right. So what we are using is much less. So there are different type of water shortages. I think let Salman talk about the cost and those things, and then we will come back. I think many measures are required at the technical, social, or level, political level.
So what I can assume is, from what Dr. Zaigham is saying, that we are short of water. Certainly, we have 5,000 glaciers, according to the reports, many reports, read articles in Dawn newspaper for that matter, Washington Post. So generally, what we see in the media is that we have a lot of glaciers in the north, around 5,000, but still, if we are facing such kind of shortages in the next couple of years, people even in north would not be having much water to utilize. So what is the situation at the moment, and how can we better understand the water shortage even if we have 5,000 glaciers?
You know, one is a very absolute and basic crisis in water science. I think for all our glacial cover, we don't have the technology. Pakistan doesn't have the technology to actually see whether the size of our glaciers is increasing or decreasing. They do sample studies. This is not still very well known. And even if those glaciers increase, even if we have enough water, like Dr. Habib is saying, we do not have enough storage capacity. And then dams are just one part of the story. Agriculture, you know, guzzles up the majority of your water. When will we come to the part when we start lining those canals? When will we come to the part where we actually look at how other systems of water efficiency are mobilized, are utilized? So building large infrastructure is one part of the solution, but having crossed that, Pakistan already has dams, and when we speak to our sort of interlocutors on the Indian side, you know, one of the routine arguments that they throw back at us is that you are unable to manage your water. So even if there is more water coming in from the Indian side, will you be able to handle it? And the answer to we haven't had a clever answer to that, right? But that is very typical of how we haven't looked in other places for fixing our solutions. It was absolutely correct when this sector is mentioned that, you know, domestic or urban usage is an overlooked sector, and there is no telemetry around how much water is being utilized by homes or businesses or, you know, hotels or hospitals in your urban centers. There is no telemetry. There is no understanding of how much water is being utilized, and when you don't have a price on water, then there is no market that formulates. There are isolated examples in Punjab and Sindh where a market for water has been they've tried to created water pricing, and whether or not those experiments have been successful, overall Pakistan is not really paying for this resource, and therefore as long as you do not have any cost associated with saving water, there will be no conservation. There are talks of having a water conservation policy in Pakistan, but how will that be mechanized? How will that be operationalized in Pakistan, right? And so you can have again, returning to the question on glacial melt and glaciers, I think that can only make more sense once downstream management systems are better, once downstream's integrated water resource management is improved.
So many people, I'll move to the next question, but before that, about glaciers and everything, many people that I meet in Islamabad, Lahore and other places, they're of the view that we have enough glaciers. We won't be running out of water anytime soon, and all we need to do is that build more dams and we'll be fine in the next couple of years. Is it that simple?
No, it's not that simple. I think it's a bit complicated. People don't understand, most of the people. Most of our glaciers are on the Indian side.
Yes.
70% water is generated India, Afghanistan, and starting from China. So we don't have access to all of the snow cover area is clearly decreasing, and there's a lot of Indian study, a lot of other international studies. There is problem about the projection. I will talk about that also a little bit, but about the glacier, snow cover area is increasing inside Pakistan and inside India, and it's clear. It's shown by, for example, there's a lot of study on Zaigham Basin by Srinagar University. They are showing even about 100 small glaciers are close to be disappeared. So what's happening? This is population pressure. From the glacier, more water is not coming. That's also a misconception. Glacier is formed, snow is in winter. There's snow in winter. There's some old snow, but there's some snow in winter, and it melts in summer. So if that area is not snow cover, it means whenever snow falls, it melts and it is used. So on the Indian side, there is lot of water uses locally, which we don't know. I think areas converted, large areas converted into agriculture. Even in Pakistan side, you go and see everywhere there's construction. There are buildings, there's business centers. So we are not taking care of catchment. There's one issue, but snow cover area is decreasing, glacier are melting. It means our water holding capacity of glacier is decreasing. So, water
And that is
will
because
not.
of the climate change?
Yeah, this is because of climate change and because of human activity.
Right.
I think both are there. Temperature is increasing.
And you
Human
talked
activity.
human activity. We're going to discuss about this as well. You mentioned projection.
Yeah, the problem with projection is for Pakistan, there have been studies, some international studies. There 3 sets of studies starting from 2007 to 2017. They gave slightly different projections. In the beginning, the projection was that Himalayan glacier will finish in 30 years. There will be a lot of water and then it will finish. Then there was not a lot of water. So, the next study shows that some of the Karakoram glacier are expanding. That is also not proved not true, but anyway, the third set of studies in 2017, this the IPCC fifth report, international studies,
Right.
shows that the glacier melt will remain almost stable. You can say with lack of studies, but the timing will change. There will be more water in spring, there will be less snow formation, and they shows there will be lot of increase in monsoon rains, which is not happening.
Right.
There was 2 years 2010 and 11 we had lot of rains. So, it means that we have climate change and we have very high uncertainty
Right.
of the climate change behavior. This is the weather cycles, how these cycles are acting, but for Pakistan few things are clear. Glacier are melting, snow cover area is decreasing, but that water is not coming into the river system downstream, because the population in the catchment area, Indian side, Pakistan side, that is increasing. Our business, even on Indian side, you go and see how many recreational lakes they are developing. So, every type of human activity.
So this is affecting the whole thing.
Yeah.
Salman, so there are many challenges, and we also lack perhaps reliable information. Things are pretty uncertain. The patterns are also uncertain. How to go about managing water well, all these water management, how to go about it then?
I'm glad you asked that question. I think Shamil, Taimour, one of the good things is that this year we've come out with a water policy, a revised water policy. We also now have a climate change policy, increasing governmental attention towards these issues, including increasing political interest in resolving these issues. That means at the provincial level also, because these are provincial
Sorry,
subjects.
I have to cut you. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. We are discussing water crisis, water management and dams, what Prime Minister talked about yesterday. Salman Zaidi, we were talking about the water management, and we were talking about also the glaciers and the issues that we have regarding water resources and all that. What about water management now? What options do we have?
There's multiple options on the table. And I think if you talk with the governmental level, there's policy after policy that outlines the effort and the vision that the government must have, as well as implementation frameworks that are several steps ahead of the wish list that is the policy framework. Thankfully, we have now new policies in place, including a water policy, forest conservation policies coming up. We have a climate change policy that was recently notified. We also have at least 15 years of work of ministries, of line departments working along these issues. Currently, the Ministry of Water and Power has 18 projects with regard to water. Now, having sort of seen all of this, I think it is very important to point out that there remains an institutional hangover. If you count the number of organizations working in this sector, you will be amazed how their mandates cross over they are sometimes working at cross purposes. Then with the whole spectre of 18th Amendment, these subjects are devolved to the provinces where the environmental ministries pick up the tab, sometimes with or without even looking at what their policy mandates are. If you look at Pakistan's international commitments, such as the Paris Agreement that emerged from COP21, Kyoto Protocol, those are photocopied or sort of drafted the same without anybody having even read them. That is sometimes very unfortunate, because you can't expect any work coming out of these from the government when your letter and verse is so badly drafted. That is not to say that the government will not be able to bring about any change. I think for now their entire attention is focused on the 10 billion tree tsunami that they want on Pakistan, and that is again just one aspect of climate change. It doesn't create a comprehensive policy, just as dams might be their flagship sort of achievement. Infrastructure, all very well. I think the government has to really sort of go out on a limb to resolve this issue of water, and then it's not just the water, the government, can I say. It has to be this whole middle range of civil society actors as well as end users that include us, consumers of water. And I think TV shows can talk about the policy end, we can debate that, but I think the real spectators who watch TV, the people who sort of use water, must also be told ways of behavior change, how to conserve water, how to utilize water, particularly when it comes to domestic usage.
And that is very important, certainly, the most important thing to do. Dr. Habib, we were talking about, before the break, about the statistics and the ways of evaluating the crisis. And you were of the view that we need to have the right kind of evaluation system and statistics and numbers. And if we don't have them right, obviously, we won't be able to evaluate them in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's very much linked with the institution, that's what Salman said. What happened, I think now we have start very briefly from the policies. Recently we have 2 policy documents, and in my opinion both are hopeless, because climate change policy gave water data, not the climate change, much less about climate change than on water. Water policy didn't give any data because provinces were not agreeing on something. Especially water policy is very, very hopeless policy. It gave a list of areas where you can make the project. So this is not the function of a policy. We have 80% water already developed. Actually the problem is our institutional capacity and integrated thinking. It's not only the integrated approach we say, but it's not integrated thinking. Now provinces, they are autonomous in irrigation, that's a provincial subject. They can make small project, but there is no regulatory framework for the provinces. For me, each province should give price of the cost of the water they get from the main system. So I think it's totally, slowly system has disintegrated. Unfortunately, in my opinion, most of the stakeholders have not played overall positive role, because each stakeholder has its own interest. We don't have our institutional capacity, institutional knowledge and institutional potential, actual working in the operational procedure, I will say, those have declined with time. For example, WAPDA was once responsible for all water resources. Now WAPDA is not working, it's mostly working on power. It's working on the dams, on the rivers, but not on many part of the water. So I think what's happening, for example, agriculture and irrigation department, they actually work on the same thing, but they are 2 different departments, sometimes they don't even talk with each other. We talk about water efficiency, which I was mentioning. In my opinion, in Pakistan, water use efficiency is very high. I show you, tell you why it's high. It's at the cost of some money from farmers, because what water seeped from canals, it goes to the groundwater and we pump it. So everybody agree that 50% water in sweet zone comes from the groundwater. This water comes from the irrigation water, 70% of it. Only 30, less than 30 come from the rainfall. So that is water recycling. That is a reservoir. This is not a loss. We call it a loss. Our planning commission, which is a key organization, I work with them, and let me say, if you read their document, they will give you every year different number. Sometime within a year 3 different numbers. depending upon the projects. We have had major investment on watercourse lining. Everybody is saying we should go for watercourse lining. I checked into 2007, 70% watercourses were 50% lined by the government. And I go to the field and I don't see unlined watercourses because farmer can't afford that. Yeah, our farm practices, it has many limitations, and for that we also need a reservoir. If we go for the natural system, which has peak flow 2 months and no flow other months, how can we have a system which supply water whole of the year? Right. So I think there are very serious limitation of the farmers, and when we come and we talk, we assume that they don't know or they are not willing to know. I think they have limited options and system has limited options. And right. Our institutions should work together, and we need to criticize many things in system which are not
so there are
up to the mark.
A bunch of issues related to the water crisis, Salman, but most importantly what Dr. Habib is saying is the institutional capacity, building institutional capacity, and we need to strengthen those institutions which can actually evaluate and work on water management. How to do that? And talking about Planning Commission of Pakistan, the impression that we get at the moment, in present times, is that the previous governments were not able to look at the gravity of the situation, but this government has realized it. What is more important is the institutional building. That is important. How to go about that?
So I think there is, I think political will gives institutions the impetus to work, even if it's temporary. So, you know, this year we're hearing more and more about Imran Khan's or the PTI's 10 billion tree tsunami, and I think there is a degree of distraction within government on what needs to be done on climate change. At the same time, there are a Senate body on climate caucus has come up. There is a civil society coalition on climate change. I think those are all developments, positive developments, where people are adding capacity, adding interest, adding resources to what can be done. I think apart from the large infrastructure projects that come up, I think there is an immense amount of resource and talent found in the non-governmental sector, where, you know, private experts can come in and sort of advise what the work that the government should do. However, I think there are precedents in other policy domains, where, for example, in security you have seen that an urgency, you know, a frequency of events brought about a national emergency, if you like. And all policy makers, all institutions then did eventually line up and create something. Good or bad, I mean, there were many, this was a learning curve in the security sector, just as we had other crises in the education sector. I think in other policy domains, you have to feel a degree of heat before, you know, institutions do their job. If we were to start creating institutions, I don't think there is any need. There are institution after institution that is in this field, like I said, but not many of them doing their work. What the Federation can do, you know, with the spectre of devolution, is that the Federation can create an effective monitoring and evaluation system. It can help do more inter-provincial coordination in this regard. Slowly, I think the work of water as well as climate change can come up to speed. However, this will not bring about any short-term results. This will happen over the next 5 years, because nobody in Pakistan is frankly used to the idea of someone asking you know, for results.
Right. Dr. Habib, my last question. What is the most important thing that we can do? First and foremost thing, and the most important thing, where should we start from now? What should we work on?
I think the most important thing is to understand what are the water issues really. The second thing is to have integrated water resource management at the institutional level and at the system level. And one more thing I want to say, just said, I think we are water short. So there is competition for water. So that is another thing, is regulatory mechanism. Because, you know, even climate change, we say we need water below Kotri for the mangroves and other things. Punjab and Sindh never agree on the water. There is a competition water. So we need a mechanism which is, in my opinion, part of regulation. We need a mechanism for the dispute resolution, for the provincial coordination, and because now each province is water stressed,
Right.
not only Punjab, also Sindh.
Right.
So
These are the.
that is.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Habib. Pleasure having you on the show. Mr. Slaman, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. That's all from today's program, and the most important things that our experts said are, first of all, institutional building. We need to work on the institutions, on strengthening institutions, and also so that institutions can evaluate the crisis that we might be facing in future. The second thing is regulating the water management, the distribution of water. Regulation is very important. The third thing is provincial coordination. That's what Dr. Habib said and Mr. Salman said. We hope that we come out of this crisis, and we also hope that we will be strengthening our institutions in future. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.